Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden forces that actually control human behavior. It's kind of like stepping right into a gripping, cinematic psychological thriller, right? But here's the catch. This isn't fiction. We're looking at the everyday reality of how people influence, manipulate, and control one another. By the time we wrap up this analysis, you're going to have the exact tools you need to recognize these unseen attacks and build an absolutely impenetrable mental defense.
So, author James Williams kicks things off with this really provocative question. Are you just a pawn in someone else's chess game? I mean, really think about your daily interactions for a second. Have you ever felt, subtly pushed into a decision? Or maybe you've walked away from a conversation feeling totally drained, almost doubting your own reality. Williams points out that way more often than we realize, we're just pieces being quietly moved across a board by someone else's strategic hand. And to stop being a pawn, well, we first have to recognize the game.
The poet Sylvia Plath actually captured this feeling beautifully. Our source material really emphasizes that before we start pointing fingers at everyone else, we have to recognize that every human has these primitive instincts. We all have a capacity for selfishness and, even malice under the right pressures. It's a heavy thought, I know, but acknowledging this universal truth, that is absolutely crucial. It's literally step one toward true emotional intelligence and self-mastery.
Now, when we talk about dark psychology, we aren't just talking about those sensational true crime documentaries. It's actually the everyday, hidden reality of people manipulating others for personal gain. It all comes down to intentionality. It's that coworker who conveniently takes credit for your project, or a partner weaponizing your insecurities, or even a marketer fabricating this sense of panic just to make a quick sale. It's the deliberate, willful exploitation of human emotion.
And the ultimate cost of this unseen psychological warfare is devastating. It's the profound fragmentation of the victim's identity. When dark psychology is applied repeatedly over time, the victim doesn't just lose an argument or some money, they lose their core sense of self. They start becoming entirely dependent on the manipulator's version of reality. It's a complete shattering of confidence and autonomy. It's wild when you really think about it.
So to really understand these tactics, we turn to the work of Arthur Horn. He reveals that manipulators primarily rely on three main tools to covertly alter your behavior: power, persuasion, and deception. Horn describes human behavior almost objectively, like we're machines designed to achieve goals based on the data we receive. Manipulators hack this system. They project false power, use persuasion to align your goals with theirs, and ultimately rely heavily on deception. Basically, by controlling the information you get, they control the actions you take. They pull your emotional strings using a totally distorted reality of rewards and punishments. It's your classic carrot and stick, but completely twisted. The carrot might be a manipulator offering fake affection or fake career advancement, what Horn calls seduction. The stick, on the other hand, is intimidation, but it's rarely physical, right? It's the terrifying threat of social ruin, isolation, or suddenly withdrawing that affection. They figure out exactly what drives you, and then they weaponize it. They use these specific emotional tactics to completely bypass your rational defenses. It scrambles your perception of truth and makes you doubt your own reality. Minimization and blaming are particularly insidious here. When a manipulator harms you, they'll minimize it, make you feel crazy for overreacting. Then they flip it and pass the blame entirely onto you. Before you know it, you're apologizing to the very person who attacked you. It is pure emotional smoke and mirrors.
But how do these external attacks actually take over your internal operating system? Well, this brings us to the core hidden truth of this explainer. To defeat a manipulator, you have to understand the mechanics of your own mind first. It's not enough to just know the enemy's playbook. You have to know the exact vulnerabilities in your own system that let their malicious code run. How do their external words become your internal nightmare?
Drawing from Joseph Murphy's really deep psychological insights, we see that you don't just have one mind. You have two profoundly distinct spheres of activity operating simultaneously. The conscious mind is your reasoning center. It's the part making choices. But your subconscious mind, that is the seat of your habits, your automatic functions, and your deepest, most ingrained beliefs. It doesn't argue with you, and it certainly doesn't reason.
Think of this dynamic like a massive ship. Your conscious mind is the captain up on the bridge issuing orders, while your subconscious is the men down in the engine room blindly executing those orders without question. The conscious mind looks out at the world, decides what's true, and sends that order down. The subconscious then lines up all of your physical and emotional energy to make it happen, completely independent of whether that order is actually good for you or not.
This means your subconscious is entirely non-selective. It accepts whatever habitual thoughts or external suggestions you let pass through your conscious mind. If the captain on the bridge buys into a lie from a manipulator and relays it as truth, the men in the engine room are going to drive that ship straight into the rocks. Your subconscious will literally produce anxiety, fear, and even physical illness if the negative inputs tell it to do so.
And this is where auto-suggestion comes in. Manipulators use dark persuasion and highly repetitive, emotional words to slip negative auto-suggestions right past your defenses. This effectively lets them hijack your ship's engine room. It is the ultimate mechanism of control. When a toxic partner repeatedly tells you you're worthless, or a scammer keeps echoing words of impending doom, they are actively trying to bypass your conscious reasoning. They want those dark ideas dropping straight into your subconscious to become your new default programming. Once they successfully plant those destructive seeds, your subconscious immediately goes to work, lining up all the laws of nature to make that nightmare your waking reality. If you accept the suggestion that you're destined to fail, or that you somehow deserve to be mistreated, your subconscious will actually cause you to behave in ways that guarantee failure and attract more abuse. You've unknowingly handed the steering wheel right over to the enemy. So how do we break free and reclaim the bridge of our own minds? Well, here is the transformation phase. We're going to use the exact same psychological mechanics to build bulletproof mental defenses. The beautiful thing about the laws of the mind is that they're completely neutral. The very same mechanism that manipulators use to break you down can be consciously harnessed by you to build unbreakable confidence and true emotional intelligence. There's this ancient wisdom highlighted in The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari that offers a really powerful cinematic metaphor. Imagine every thought in your mind is a slide and a projector. Remember how we talked earlier about creating a cinematic experience? Well, you are the director of this mental cinema. Every single time you allow a manipulator to project a dark, anxious slide onto the screen of your mind, you're literally letting them direct your life's movie.
But here's the game changer, the law of substitution. By actively swapping out these images in your mind's eye, you starve the manipulator's dark suggestions of the emotional energy they need to survive. Your mind can only hold one dominant thought at a time. So, the second you notice a dark thought, like a seed of doubt planted by a toxic colleague, you must immediately eject it. Replace it instantly with a vivid, high-contrast slide of your own success, harmony, and strength.
This all builds into some very clear, actionable steps for self-mastery. By fiercely guarding the inputs of your conscious mind and vividly visualizing your true desires, you reprogram the engine room for success. You essentially have to act as a bouncer at the door of your mind, actively rejecting negative suggestions from the outside world. Keep your conscious mind busy expecting the absolute best. If you visualize your end goal clearly, your subconscious will gather all its power to bring it to pass. You are literally rewiring your behavioral patterns.
This profound truth means the innate power of your dual mind is far, far greater than any manipulator's deceit, provided you consciously take the wheel. Joseph Murphy's work reminds us that the chaos in the world and in our own lives usually stems from a lack of harmony between our conscious and subconscious. When you align them, when your conscious mind boldly affirms your worth and your subconscious deeply accepts it, absolutely no psychological tactic, no dark persuasion, and no deceit can break your foundation. So, we'll end on this final provocative thought to challenge you. Will you remain a pawn in the dark, or will you become the captain of your own mind? The chess game is happening right now, whether you're aware of it or not. But by understanding the tools of dark psychology, and by fiercely guarding the cinematic projector of your own subconscious, you take your power back. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and direct your own masterpiece.